Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavansham Sri Rupam Chakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Yeah, I will start. Hare Krishna, Samyukta Mataji, Shirisha Mataji, Ranat Pranams, all glory to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Let us begin with Mangala Sharana prayers, okay? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yakrupatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Om Apavitra Pavitro Va Sarvavastam Gatopi Va Yasmare Kundari Kaksham Sa Abhyabhyantaram Suchihi Sri Vishnu Sri Vishnu Sri Vishnu. Yeah, we are reading from Srila Prabhupada's small book entitled as On the Way to Krishna. On the Way to Krishna. So this is the last chapter. Let me share. So last chapter we are reading today. Steering toward the Supreme. We have done so far through the way to happiness, the way of chanting and knowing Krishna, seeing Krishna everywhere and always, the roads of foolish and the wise. And fifth one is the steering toward the Supreme. Okay. So we'll complete today at any till 8 o'clock, whatever time. Steering toward the Supreme. Yes. Let me begin. Udara sarva evaite jnani tvatmaiva me matam astita sahi yuktatma mam eva anuttamam gatim. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls. But who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. Mam evanuttamam gatim. Whenever a devotee situated in the Krishna consciousness, completely 24 hours engaged in the service of the Lord, so he attains me. That is the highest perfect goal. That's what Krishna says. This is in 7th chapter, 18th verse. Yeah. So here Krishna is saying that all the men who come to him, whether they be distressed, in need of money, curious, etc., are welcomed. But out of them, the person who is in knowledge is very dear to him. The others are welcomed because it is understood that in course of time, if they continue on the path through God, they will become as good as the man of knowledge. Generally, however, it so happens that when one goes to church for profit and the money doesn't come, he concludes that approaching God is nonsense and he gives up all connection with church. That is the danger of approaching God with ulterior motives. For instance, during World War II, it was reported that many wives of the German soldiers went to church to pray for their husband's safe return. But when they found their husbands had been killed in battle, they became atheistic. Thus, we want God to become our order supplier. And when He doesn't supply our order, we say there is no God. That is the effect of praying for material things. Yeah. Yeah, let us continue. Okay. Yeah. Sirisha Matadi, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
చదువుతావా Matadi?
చదువుతాను Prabhuji.
Yeah, చదవండి.
In this connection, there is a story of a little boy about 5 years old named Dhruva, who belonged to a royal family. In the course of time, his father, the king, died of his mother and deposed her as his queen. He then took another woman as queen, and she became stepmother to the boy. She was very envious of Dhruva, and one day, as Dhruva was sitting on the father's knee, she insulted him. "Oh, you cannot sit on the lap of your father," she said, "because you are not born of me." She dragged Dhruva from his father's lap, and the boy became very angry. He was the son of a Kshatriya, and Kshatriyas are notorious for their quick tempers. Dhruva took this to be a great insult, and he went to his mother, who had been deposed. "Dear mother," he said, "my stepmother has insulted me by dragging me from my father's lap." "Dear son," the mother replied, "what can I do? I am helpless, and your father no longer cares for me." "Well, how can I take revenge?" the boy asked. "My dear boy, you are helpless. Only if God helps you can you take revenge." "Oh, where is God?" Dhruva asked enthusiastically. "I understand so many sages go to the jungle and forest to see God," the mother replied. "They undergo great fences and austerities in order to find God there." At once, Dhruva went to the forest and began asking the tiger and the elephant, "Oh, are you God? Are you God?" In this way, he was questioning all the animals. Seeing that Dhruva was very much inquisitive, Sri Krishna sent Narada Muni to see about the situation. Narada quickly went to the forest and found Dhruva. "My dear boy," Narada said, "you belong to the royal family. You cannot suffer all these fences and austerity. Please return to your home. Your mother and father are very much anxious for you. Please don't try to divert me in that way," the boy said. "If you know something about God, or if you know how I can see God, please tell me. Otherwise, go away and don't disturb me." When Narada saw that Dhruva was so determined, he initiated him as a disciple and gave him the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dhruva chanted this mantra and became perfect, and God came before him. Can I continue, Prabhu?
Continue this too. Also.
"My dear Dhruva, what do you want? You can take from me whatever you want." "My dear Lord," the boy replied, "I was undergoing such severe offenses simply for my father's kingdom and land. But now I have seen you. Even the great sages and saints cannot see you. What is my profit? I left my home to find merely some scraps of glass and rubbish. Instant I have found a very valuable diamond. Now I am satisfied. I have no need to ask anything of you." Hare Krishna.
ఇది కూడా లాస్ట్ టైం ఓకే
Okay, Prabhuji. Thus, even though one may be poverty stricken or in distress, if he goes to God with the same determination as Dhruva, intent on seeing God and taking his benediction, and if he happens to see God, he will no longer want anything material. He comes to understand the foolishness of material possessions, and he puts the illusion aside for the real thing. When one becomes situated in Krishna consciousness like Dhruva Maharaj, he becomes fully satisfied and does not want anything. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So two things from this pastime of Dhruva Maharaj: inquisitiveness and determination. Inquisitiveness to understand about Krishna, where exactly is what Krishna is. Yeah, what Krishna is saying, right? Where Krishna is, that is inquisitive to understand Krishna and determine. He got that determination unless he found out the Krishna. He never left that place, that forest. Dhruva Maharaj got the mantra of Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya from Narada Muni, and he chanted until Krishna appeared in front of him. That means there are 4 types of people who comes to the Krishna: Artho, Artharthi, Jnani, Jigyasu. Who is distressed, who needs some money, who is inquisitive, knowledge one, and who wanted to Artho, Artharthi, Jnani, Jigyasu. Yeah, Jnani means who wanted to know about the Supreme Lord. Jigyasu means realize the absolute truth of the Supreme Lord. The other 2 types you all know. Somebody needs some money, and Artharthi, Jnani, Jigyasu. Somebody in distress. So in any case, if in those 4 categories of people determined, then they can see the God. That's where Prabhupada writes here. So here, when Krishna appears in front of Dhruva Maharaj, he will no longer want anything material. He comes to understand the foolishness of material possessions. Because in front of Dhruva Maharaj, when Krishna appeared, he forget what he wanted to enjoy just like his father's kingdom. But as soon as he see in Supreme Lord, he forget about all the material things and he just want to see just like that. He wanted to experience that spiritual bliss eternally. You don't want anything, material positions. That's ultimately realization. And thus he and material foolishness of material positions, and he puts the illusion aside for the real thing. When one becomes situated in Krishna consciousness, like Dhruva Maharaj, he becomes fully satisfied and doesn't want anything. So we also, when we subside this materialistic way of life, material desires, we also experience spiritual life, spiritual bliss. That requires doesn't any materialistic qualification or materialistic possessions. We just have to show our sincerity, just to become determined and inquisitive. Inquisitive means we have to read this. What is the teachings all about? Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, like that. Yes, thank you, Mataji. Lakshmi Mataji, can you please read?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dignant, the wise man knows that material things are flickering. He also knows that there are 3 aspects that complicate all material gain. One wants profit from his work, one wants adoration from others because of his riches, and one wants fame because of his wealth. In any case, he knows that all of these apply but to the body, apply but to the body, and that when the body is finished, they also go. When the body dies, one is no longer a rich man, but a spiritual soul. And according to this work, he has to enter another body. The Gita says that a wise man is not bewildered by this, for he knows what is what. Why then should he bother himself in attaining material wealth? His attitude is, I have an eternal connection with Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Now let me establish that relationship firmly, so that Krishna will take me back to his kingdom. Shall I continue, Prabhu?
Yes, continue.
Okay. The cosmic situation is giving us all facility to re-establish this relationship with Krishna and return to Godhead. This should be our mission in life. Everything we need is being supplied by God: land, grain, fruits, milk, shelter, and clothing. We only have to live peacefully and cultivate Krishna consciousness. That should be our mission in life. We should therefore be satisfied with what God has supplied in the form of food, shelter, defense, and sex, and should not want more and more and more. The best type of civilization is one that ascribes to the maxim of plain living and high thinking. It is not possible to manufacture food or sex in a factory. These and Whatever else we require are supplied by God. Our business is to take advantage of these things and become God conscious. Although God has given us all facilities to live peacefully on this earth, cultivate Krishna consciousness, and finally to come to Him, in this age we are unfortunate. We are short lived, and there are so many people without food, shelter, married life, or defense from the onslaughts of nature. This is due to the influence of this age of Kali. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, seeing the dreadful situation in this age, emphasized the absolute necessity for cultivating spiritual life. And how should we do it? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the formula. Shall I continue, Prabhu?
Continue, please.
Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nameva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyata. Just always chant Hare Krishna. Never mind whether you are in a factory or in hell, in a shack or in a skyscraper. It doesn't matter. Just go on chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There is no expense, there is no impediment, there is no caste, there is no creed, there is no color. Anyone can do it. Just chant and hear. Somehow or other, if one comes into the contact with Krishna consciousness and executes the process under the guidance of a bona fide guide, he is sure to go back to God. Bahunam janma namante gnanavan mam prabhadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. After many births and death, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Gita 7.19. Philosophical research into the science of God has to be prosecuted for many births. God's realization is very easy, but at the same time, it is very difficult. It is easy for those who accept Krishna's word as truth, but those who try to understand through research work by dint of advancement of knowledge have to create their faith after finishing so much research work, and this process takes many births. There are different types of transcendentalists called Tattva with who know the absolute truth. The transcendentalists call the absolute truth that in which there is no duality. In the absolute truth, there is no duality. Everything is on the same level. One who knows this in truth is called Tattvavit.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah. We all know many times we remember this one, right? Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Yeah.
Hare Rama.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Kalau nasteva, nasteva. So, Prabhupada, there is no expense, no impediment, no caste, no creed, no color, etc. Just chant and hear. And immediately Prabhupada pointed out the other verse from Bhagavad Gita 7.19. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. There are many births and deaths. He who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So that's what it is. So Krishna consciousness easy. Prabhupada writes here, no? It's some God realization is very easy, but at the same time it is very difficult. It is easy for those who accept Krishna's words as truth. That's why we have to understand this Krishna conscious, Krishna's teachings from a bona fide guru, not bogus guru, not his different versions of the Bhagavad Gita. It has to be situated in the parampara. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshiyo viduhu sakalene mahata yogo nasta parantapa. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, paramparanugatanga the knowledge oka generation nunchi inko generation ki atla. So that's where the real knowledge there. All other versions are concocted philosophies, concocted versions, which cannot help us, which cannot take us to the ultimate goal, back to God. That's where we are very fortunate. We feel we are fortunate. We are situated in the right system, right parampara, and understanding this knowledge. And it's guaranteed. If you learn the truth in this disciplic succession from a bona fide guru, there is a success guaranteed. No doubt, actually. Because the knowledge as received by Arjuna, similarly, we get the same knowledge. No additions, deletions, etc. as it is. So this is what it is. So we just have to follow the footsteps on the previous acharyas. Yeah, let us continue. Yeah, I'll see over there. Yeah. Vanilla Mata, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhu. Krishna proclaims that the absolute truth is known in three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The impersonal Brahman effulgence, the localized supersoul, and the supreme personality of Godhead. Thus, there are three angles from which one may envision the absolute truth. One may view a mountain from a great distance and thus perceive it from one angle of vision. As he comes closer, he may see the trees and foliage on the mountain, and if he begins to climb the mountain, he will find so much variegatedness in the trees, plants, and animals. The objective is the same, but due to different angles of vision, sages have different conceptions of the absolute truth. Another example, there is sunshine, the sun disk, and the sun god. One who is in the sunshine cannot claim that he is the sun itself. And one who is situated in the sun from the point of view of the sun vision, better situated. The sunshine may be compared to the all-pervasive Brahmajyoti effulgence. The localized sun disk may be compared to the localized aspect of the supersoul, and the sun god who resides in the sun may be compared to the supreme personality of Godhead. As on this earth planet, we have a multi-variety of living entities. We can understand from Vedic literatures that in the sun also there is a variety of living entities, but their bodies are made of fire, just as ours are made of earth. Should I continue, Prabhu?
Please continue.
In the material nature, there are 5 gross elements: earth, water, air, fire, and space. In different planets, there are different atmospheres due to one of these 5 elements prevailing and others. And there are different bodies for living entities composed of whatever element may be predominant in a particular planet. We should not think that all planets have the same quality of life. There is uniformity in the sense that these 5 elements are present in some form or the other. Thus, on some planets, earth is prominent, fire is prominent, water is prominent, and air and space are prominent. We should not think, therefore, that just because a planet is not composed primarily of earth, or because the atmosphere does not duplicate ours, that there is no life on these planets. Vedic literatures give us information that there are countless planets filled with living entities with different types of bodies. As by making some material adjustment, we may qualify to enter different material planets. By qualification, we can enter into the spiritual planets where the Supreme Lord resides. Yanti deva vrata devan, pritryan yanti pritravrata, bhutani yanti bhutajya, yantimat yajnopi mam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. And those who worship me will live with me. Gita 9.25.
Continue with this. Yeah, please continue this also. Those who are trying to enter.
Those who are trying to enter the higher planets can go there, and those who are trying to qualify to enter Goloka Vrindavana, the planet of Krishna, can also enter there by the process of Krishna consciousness. Before going to India, we may acquire a description of what the country is like. Hearing about a place is the first experience. Similarly, if we want to get information about the planet where God lives, we have to hear. We cannot immediately take an experiment and go there. That is not possible. But we have many descriptions of the planet in the Vedic literature. For instance, the Brahma Samhita states, Chintamani prakara sadmas kalpa vriksha lakshávriteshu surabhirabhipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primordial Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, fulfilling all desires in the abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of wish-fulfilling trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis.
Yes,
Hare
Mataji. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. So, yeah, we all know the concepts of the absolute truth, Brahma, Paramatma, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti shabde. And you all know the example of sunshine, sun planet, and sun god himself. Brahma Jyoti effulgence, the all-pervasive Brahma Jyoti effulgence is like sunshine. The localized sun disk may be compared to the localized aspect of the super soul. The sun god who reside in the sun may be compared to the personality of Godhead. Then Prabhupada writes, on this earth planet, we have a multi-variety of living entities. We can understand from Vedic literature that in sun also there is a variety of living entities, but that bodies are made up of fire. Okay, these Pancha Mahabhutas, each element consisting of different varieties, different bodies made up of, earthly body. Our bodies are earthly made up, and that's where it has to, the body dissolved in the earth. Then the water, living entities, fire living entities, space living entities. So these are the different material element, each element having different what Prabhupada trying to say is in other planetary systems there are living entities. Yes, but the scientists are trying to find with the mechanical means. Actually, this is going to save them if the scientists comes and follow these Vedic scriptures and understand this Vedic literature. It's a lot of time to save because it's guarantee. Actually, there are so many living entities in fire also. In water also, we see in water, right? All the Jalacharalu, they lives in the water only. Right? So that's the thing. And Prabhupada writes the next verse, Yanti Deva, Vrata Devan, Pitruni Yanti Pritranvrata, Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja, Yanti Madhyajino, where we put our faith, right? Like that, we go to the planets. Right? Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to ancestors. Those who worship me live with me. And next, immediately Prabhupada writes, chooses verse from Brahma Samhita to support where God lives, where Krishna lives. What exactly description about the spiritual world. Chintamani prakara sadmasu kalpavruksha laksha vrateshu surabhir abhipalayan lakshmi sahasra shata sambramana sevyaman govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. This is a description of spiritual world. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, fulfilling all desires in his abodes, built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of wish-fulfilling trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. This is the verse from Brahma Samhita. Prabhupada writes in next verses, let us read. Yes, Mataji, Samyukta Mataji, can you please read?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Those who are trying to realize the absolute truth are categorized according to the aspect of the absolute truth on which they concentrate. Those who concentrate on Brahman, the impersonalists, are called Brahmavadis. Generally, those who are trying to realize the absolute truth, first of all, realize the Brahma Jyoti. Those who concentrate on the super soul, the localized form of the Lord in the heart, called Paramatma, are known as Paramatmavadis. The Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion, is sitting in everyone's heart, and by meditation and concentration, one can perceive this form. Not only is he within everyone's heart, but he is situated within every atom of the creation. This Paramatma realization is the second stage. The third and last stage is the realization of Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because there are three main stages of realization. The Supreme Absolute Truth is not attained in one birth. Bahunam Janma Namante. If one is fortunate, he can achieve the ultimate in 1 second. But generally, it takes many, many years and many, many births to realize what God is. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly knows this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Gita 10.8. Shall I continue,
Okay.
Prabhuji?
Continue.
The Vedanta Sutra also confirms that the absolute truth is He from whom everything is born. If we truly believe that Krishna is the origin of everything and if we worship Him, our whole account is closed in 1 second. But if one does not believe and says, "Oh, I want to see what God is," he has to go by stages by realizing the impersonal Brahman effulgence and then Paramatma, the localized feature, before finally coming to the last stage of realizing, "Oh, here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead." It should be understood, however, that this process takes more time. When one through many years of research come to realize the absolute truth, he concludes, Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Vasudeva is all that is. Vasudeva is a name for Krishna and it means he who lives everywhere. Realizing that Vasudeva is the root of everything. Mam Prapadhyate. He surrenders. The surrendering process is the ultimate goal. Either one does it immediately or after many bursts of research work. In either case, surrender must be there by realizing that God is great and I am his subordinate. Understanding this, the wise man will surrender immediately and not wait to take many, many births. He understands that this information is given by the Supreme Lord out of his infinite mercy on the conditioned souls. We are all conditioned souls, suffering the threefold miseries of this material world. Now the Supreme Lord is giving us the opportunity to escape these miseries by the surrendering process. Yes, Prabhuji. At this point, one may ask that if the Supreme Personality is the ultimate goal and one has to surrender to Him, why are there so many different processes of worship in the world? This question is answered in the next verse. Kamaistair hritagnana prapadyante nyadevata tam niyamam astaya prakritya niyata svaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrendered unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Gita 7.20.
Thank you, Bhakti. Yes. See how is he Prabhupada writes this? Because there are three main stages of realization. The supreme absolute truth is not attained in one birth. Bahunam janmanam ante. If one is fortunate, he can achieve the ultimate in 1 second. But generally, it takes many, many years and many, many births to realize what God is. So that Krishna consciousness is a continuous process. Even though after body is gone away, the spiritual things carries with the soul. Where the soul left off the devotional activities continues from there. Right? So we all practiced it once in previous lives, bhakti. Somehow it didn't fulfill. And now somehow we got connected through the mercy of somebody prayed actually. Some devotees prayed for us. That's why we connected to again path of bhakti and continuing. Well, that's where so many it takes many births in order to attain Supreme Lord. Bahunam janmanam ante. Right? And Prabhupada writes this one. The other supportive statement, who is Supreme Personality of Godhead? What his creation is all about. He has created both spiritual and material worlds. And who can understand? Who perfectly know this. That means knowledgeable. Who perfectly know this means they are in the properly situated, they are understanding proper knowledge. That's where When they got the proper knowledge, they put themselves in the devotional service. That's what Krishna is expecting. What activities it pleases to him. My devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Then they can understand, okay, he's the original creator for all the material and spiritual worlds. Prabhupada frequent verse. He frequently quotes this. Yes. So there is one more point Prabhupada states here. Oh, I want to see what God is. He has to go by stages by realizing the impersonal Brahma effulgence and then Paramatma, then localized feature before finally come to the stage of realizing. So those are the stages there. Oh, here is the Supreme Personality of God. It should be understood. However, that this process takes more time. When one through many years of research comes to realize the absolute truth, it concludes Vasudevam Sarvamiti. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Vasudevam Sarvamiti. Sarvamiti. That's it. Period. Sarva means everything. Sarva means everything. All in his creation. Material, spiritual worlds. Vasudeva is a name. Vasudeva is a name for Krishna, and it means he who lives everywhere. Realizing that Vasudeva is the root of everything. Mam Prabhadyate, he surrenders. Surrenders, right? Bhagavad Gita's final conclusive teaching is Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja. Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja. Sharanam, surrender. Aham Tvam Sarvapapibhyam Mokshayishyami Masja. I will take care of you. So, when understanding this, the wise man will surrender immediately and not wait to many births. He understands that the information is given by the Supreme Lord out of his infinite mercy on the conditioned souls. See, how can we understand? Immediately, how can we surrender to Supreme Lord unless we have proper knowledge? Right? We are all conditioned souls suffering threefold miseries. Threefold miseries, you all know: Adhyatmika, Adibhautika, Adidaivika. And now the Supreme Lord is giving us the opportunity to escape these miseries by surrendering process. So he is giving Abhayam, right? Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami masuchaha. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. In order to escape these threefold miseries, in order to don't want to go through the four problems, we just have to surrender it to Krishna. There is no other way. Simple. The solution is there. There is no other way except to come to the platform of devotional service and render service to Krishna. At this point, one may ask if the Supreme Personality is ultimate goal, one has to surrender to him. Why are there so many different processes of worship in the world? The question is answered in the next verse. See, demigods are for wish fulfilling personalities. Whatever desires. Kamaistaister Hritaghyana Prapadyante Anya Devata. Different demigods. 33 crore demigods there. For each demigod is giving some material benefit, some material desire fulfilling. Tam tam niyatam astaya prakrutya niyata shvayaha. Those whose intelligence has been stolen. Who says this? Krishna himself says that kama istaister hritaghyana. Their intelligence lost, not situated. And again they wanted to enjoy material things. That's why they go to different demigods to perform some worship and get the benediction. But that's not intelligence. Krishna himself is saying, desire, has been stolen by material desire, surrender to demigods, follow particular rules and regulations of worship and according to their own natures. Yeah. We are almost there. Another 4, 5 paragraphs, 6 paragraphs. So let us continue completing this way. Who else join now? Pallavi Mataji, Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. Would you like to read?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah, I'll read.
Yeah, you can read it. There are.
Yeah. There are many different types of men in the world, and they are functioning under the different modes of material nature. Generally speaking, most men are not after liberation. If they take to spirituality, they wish to gain something by spiritual power. It is not uncommon in India for a person to go to a Swami and say, Swamiji, could you give me some medicine? I'm suffering from this disease. He thinks that because a doctor is too expensive, he can go to a Swami who can work miracles. In India, also there are Swamis who go to people's houses and preach. If you give me 1 ounce of gold, I can make it into 100 ounces of gold. The people think I have 5 ounces of gold. Let me give it to him and I'll get 500 ounces. In this way, the Swami collects all the gold in the village, and after collecting it, he vanishes. This is our disease. When we go to a Swami or a temple or a church, our hearts are filled with material desires. Wanting some material profit out of spiritual life, we practice yoga just to keep our health fit. But in order to keep healthy, why take shelter of yoga? We can become healthy through regular exercises and regulated diet. Why resort to yoga? Because kamyas tair hrita gnanaha. We have the material desire to keep ourselves fit and enjoy life by going to church and making God our order supplier. Having material desires, men worship various demigods. They have no idea how to get out of matter. They want to utilize the material world to its best capacity. For instance, in Vedic literature, there are so many recommendations. If one wants to cure his disease, he worships the sun. Or if a girl wants a good husband, she worships Lord Shiva. Or if one wants to become beautiful, he worships such and such god. Or if one wants to become educated, he worships goddess Saraswati. In this way, Westerners often think that the Hindus are polytheistic. But actually, this worship is not to God, but to demigods. We should not think that the demigods are God. God is one, but there are demigods who are also living entities just like us. The difference is that they have a considerable amount of power. On this earth, there may be a king or a president or a dictator. These are men like us, but they have some extraordinary power. And in order to get favors from them, to take advantage of their power, we worship them in one way or another. But the Bhagavad Gita condemns worship of the demigods. This verse clearly states that people worship the demigods to kama, material lust.
చదవండి మాతాజీ కూడా.
Oh. This material life is simply based on lust. We want to enjoy this world and we love this material world because we want to gratify our senses. This lust is a perverted reflection of our love of God. In our original constitution, we are made to love God, but because we have forgotten God, we love matter. Love is there. Either we love matter or we love God. But in no case can we get out of this loving propensity. Indeed, we often see that when one doesn't have children, he loves a cat or a dog. Why? Because we want and need to love something. In the absence of reality, we put our faith and love in cats and dogs. Love is always there, but it is distorted into the form of lust. When this lust is baffled, we become angry. When we become angry, we become illusioned. And when we are illusioned, we are doomed. This is the process. This is the process that is going on. But we have to reverse this process and turn lust into love. If we love God, we love everything. But if we do not love God, it is not possible to love anything. We may think that it is love, but it is simply a glamorized form of lust. Those who have become the dogs of lust are said to have lost all good sense. Kamas, kamas tais ter hrita gnanaha. Continue చేయాలా ప్రభుజీ?
చేయండి.
There are many rules and regulations for the worship of demigods in the scriptures, and one may question why Vedic literatures recommend their worship. There is necessity. Those who are motivated by lust want the opportunity to love something, and the demigods are acknowledged as the officers of the Supreme Lord. The idea is that as one worships these demigods, he will gradually develop Krishna consciousness. But if one is completely atheistic and is disobedient and rebellious against any authority, what hope is there? So one's obedience to a higher personality can start with the demigods. If, however, we take directly to the worship of the Supreme Lord, worship of the demigods is not necessary. Those who worship the Supreme Lord directly show all respect to the demigods, but they do not need to worship them because they know that the supreme authority behind the demigods is the supreme personality of Godhead, and they are engaged in the worship and they are engaged in worshiping him. In any case, respect is still there. A devotee of the Lord shows respect even to an ant. What to speak of the demigods? The devotee is aware that all living entities are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord and that they are playing different roles only.
Okay, Mother. Thank you.
Hare
Thank you for
Krishna.
it.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes. So basically, one point from this, paragraphs. Kama istaisthar shita jnana. The problem is we place our love, either we matter, material things, or materialistic way of life, or material desires, or what is it? Or love God, Supreme Lord. So this is a perverted reflection where we place, where we place our love. In the material objects, it's called kama. That means material. It's called lust. It's not love. In the spiritual thing, it's love, out of love. No. So that's the thing. Kama is thaisar shitar jnana. So 1 second, actually, one message came from office. Just a second. I need to respond this guy. Yeah. That's the thing. So either we place our love in the matter or spiritual things. Understand Krishna like that. Okay, so that's a problem. Having material desires, that's where these different persons going to different demigods to fulfill their material desires. So demigods created for that purpose. Right? Right. So let me read this one. Prabhupada writes, see, the material life is simply based on lust. We want to enjoy this world. We love this material world because we want to gratify our senses. Prabhupada writes, sense gratification. So there is one statement, sense gratification and self-realization. If we go ill together, సెన్స్ గ్రాటిఫికేషన్ చేస్తూ నేను మెటీరియలిస్టిక్ ఉంటూ నేను డివోషనల్గా పర్ఫామ్ చేస్తా అంటే అది వర్కౌట్ కాదనమాట. సెన్స్ గ్రాటిఫికేషన్ అండ్ సెల్ఫ్ రియలైజేషన్ గో ఇల్ టుగెదర్, రెండు ఒకసారి జరుగు. సెల్ఫ్ రియలైజేషన్ కావాలంటే వి జస్ట్ హ్యావ్ టు సమ్ మెథడ్స్, సమ్ ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ వీ హ్యావ్ టు అడాప్ట్ ఇన్ అవర్ లైఫ్, రైట్. నేను మెటీరియల్గా ఫుల్ఫిల్ చేసుకుంటాను డిజైర్స్, అట్లానే కృష్ణ దగ్గరికి వెళ్తా అంటే కాదు, వర్కౌట్ కాదు. అది ఏదో ఒకటే అవుతుంది వర్కౌట్. either you situated in the materialistic way of life or to do some sacrifice, austerity, and perform a devotional life with following the regulative principles, then that's a different. So this is a thing. This lust is perverted reflection of our love towards God. In our original constitution, we are made to love God. Prema Pumarthaman. But because we have forgotten God, we love matter. Love is there. Either we love matter or we love God. Right? Profound statement. That's the thing. Kama sthaisthir hrita jnanam. When, see, love is always there. Love is always there actually. It's in the dormant state. We are awakening dormant love towards Lord. Awakening. This Bhakti Yoga process method is going to awaken the dormant love in our hearts. To awaken the dormant love in our hearts towards Supreme Lord. Love is always there, but is distorted in the form of lust. Again, the problem is when this lust is baffled, we become angry. When we become angry, we become illusioned. And when we are illusioned, we are doomed. Okay, that's the thing. There is one verse, right? Dhyayato vishayan pumsa sangasto upajayate. Sangas, that means how this lust transformation into different things. Lust to anger, then illusion, then mind, then intelligence is lost. The sequence of things there. So this is the process that is going on. We have to reverse this process. That means we have to purify our desires from material to spiritual. How can we do that? Same Bhakti Yoga practice only. But we have to reverse this process and turn lust into love. If we love God, we love everything. But if we do not love God, it is not possible to love anything. We may think that it is love, but it is simply a glamorized form of lust. Those who have become the dogs of lust are said to have lost all good sense. Kama sthaisthir hrita jnana. That's where, the loving propensity is there. Prabhupada writes, cats and dogs, because in America, people keeping pet dog, pet cat, like pet things, because they wanted to show love towards that living entity, particular living entity. The propensity is there, but it's a matter. I mean, the other living entities, of course, love is there, but it's to fulfill some material desires, to reciprocate the feelings of love. They keep, these cats and dogs. So that won't help. We have to place that love in the Supreme Lord. Then only then it is going towards the perfectional stage. There are only 3-4 paragraphs there. Let us read and conclude this call. Okay. Vanilla Mata, you want to read? 2 paragraphs, Mata. Hare Krishna Mata. Think you are speaking on mute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Okay, Mirjana Mata, yeah.
Yeah. There are many rules and regulations for the worship of demigods in the scriptures, and one may question why the Vedic literatures recommend their worship. There is necessity. Those who are motivated by lust want the opportunity to love something, and the demigods are acknowledged as the officers of the Supreme Lord. The idea is that as one worships these demigods, he will gradually develop Krishna consciousness. But if one is completely atheistic and disobedient and rebellious against any authority, what hope is there? So one's obedience to a higher personality can start with the demigods. If, however, we take directly to the worship of the Supreme Lord, worship of the demigods is not necessary. Those who worship the Supreme Lord directly show all respects to the demigods, but they do not need to worship them because they know that the supreme authority behind the demigods is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they are engaged in worshipping Him. In any case, respect is still there. A devotee of Lord shows respect even to an ant who want to speak of the demigods. The devotee is aware that all living entities are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord and that they are playing different roles only.
Sure, Mata. So one point. So this demigod worship is indirect worship. even though these materialists place their faith in demigods, indirect worship of Supreme Lord. Right? But devotees directly worship Krishna, just like these examples we frequently, repeatedly hear. When feeding water to the root of the tree, what happens? The entire tree will be nourished, because the root is just like Krishna, right? So, and when we get hunger, this example also comes from Srila Prabhupada. When we get hunger, the stomach feels hurting something, or it requires some food. So how can we do that? So we put foodstuffs in mouth, ultimately it goes to the stomach, and from there the energy generates and spread over all the body. So that is the thing. We have to understand that demigod worship is indirect, but ultimately worshipping, actually everything created by him. When we understand that point, demigods are also created by Krishna himself in order to do some job responsibilities, right? Varuna, Vayu, Agni, Surya, Chandra, they're all demigods. Each planet, each material element is run by a demigod. So this is the thing. So they are serving Supreme Lord. But when we serve Supreme Lord, automatically all the living entities, including demigods, also pleased. Because we are worshipping the root of all. Who is the root? Krishna, absolute truth. Sarva Karana Karanam, Govindasam, Adi Purusham. We are serving Supreme Lord. That's where we are watering the root of the tree. So that's the thing. The devotee is aware that all living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they are playing different roles only. That's the thing. Different departments created by Krishna and assigned one personality to take care of that department. Okay. Sirisha Mata, you are still there, Hare Krishna?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Can you please read? We are done with this. Can you read these paragraphs?
Yes, Prabhuji. In relation to the Supreme Lord, all beings are to be respected. Therefore, a devotee refers to another as Prabhu, meaning, my dear sir, my dear Lord. Submissiveness is a qualification for a devotee of the Lord. Devotees are kind and obedient, and they have all good qualifications. In conclusion, if one becomes a devotee of the Lord, all good qualification will automatically develop. By nature, the living entity is perfect, but due to the contamination of lust, he becomes victious. That which is part and parcel of gold is also gold, and whatever is part and parcel of the complete perfect is also perfect. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. Because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as a complete whole. Whatever is produced from the complete whole is also complete in itself, because he is the complete whole. Even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. Sri Ishopanishad Invocation. Due to the contamination of matter, the perfect living entity falls down. But this process of Krishna consciousness will again make him perfect. Through it, he can become truly happily, and after leaving the material body, enters into the kingdom where there is eternal life, bliss, and full knowledge.
Done with this chapter. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
So this is what it is. So ultimately, Prabhupada ends this last lines by quoting Sri Ishopanishad. Everything come from him is perfect. All spiritual worlds and material worlds. Right? Though reflections, though reactions are different, but everything is in a complete shape, complete form. How these, if you understand, we are in the material world, how these seasons are changing. Who is doing backend? Who is doing backend? Yeah, right. We have summer, winter, spring. How these seasons changing? How days are moving? Right. If you think about this one in this universe, all these planets are moving. How? And it's in a complete perfect balance. Can anybody think like this? For example, so how the outer space, everything black, different planets there. Vishwam antam kada, so that's the thing. How these material planets are moving so order in such a way that because Krishna has created everything in a perfect and in a perfect balance, and he's a complete perfect person. No other person is perfect being. We become perfect when surrendered to Krishna. We become perfect and we get the same spiritual body just like Krishna and serving Krishna in a perfect way. Serving. So this is what ultimate thing we have to understand, that is everything emanates from him and that emanations are complete perfect. We are part and parcel of Supreme Lord. Many verses there actually. Mamai Vamshu Jiva Loke Jiva Bhodapana Sanatana. Right? And then Aham Bija Pradapita. Mamai Vamsha. We are Amsha. We are part and parcel of Supreme Lord. We never realize because we are in the illusion of the material nature. Material world is nothing but is an illusion, Maya, which is not. Best example is our body. Our body changing, right? From boyhood to youth to, and it turns to old age. That body is not ours at some point. We just have to leave this body. But that spiritual spark is witnessing how many bodies are changing based on our desires. If we put our desires in the spirituality and this Supreme Lord, there is no question to take birth again. Because we understood the soul concepts. We understood the Supreme Lord's position. We understood what is his expectation, and accordingly we are working. So that's what ultimately Prabhupada concludes with, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Purnam means complete. How many times it came? Purnam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times came Purnam. The personality of God is perfect and complete. Because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as a complete whole. See, why this material nature, what material world is created? Because some rebellious souls who don't want to serve Supreme Lord and wanted to enjoy like Krishna, that the propensities, right? Proprietorship, enjoyment, controllership. That's where they push into this material nature. And this is a perfect in that way, in that sense. The material nature is a perfect. But the soul realizes at some point, so this is not the right place. That enjoying propensity, controller propensity, that mentality is gone away after suffering, even though they wanted to experience just like Krishna. Sometimes, after many births, they come to the platform of Krishna Bhakti. They understood the reality. So material nature is just like Maya. Maya. Illusory energy of Supreme Lord. And that's perfect. This phenomenal world is perfect in that way. Either we eternally situated in the material atmosphere, or we can strive towards Supreme Lord and following his teachings through hearing from a bona fide Guru. The title itself, you see, steering toward the Supreme. How can we steering towards Supreme? Prabhupada writes different verses. How can we steer the Supreme? To utilize properly the human form of life under the instructions of a Guru and these teachings of Vedic literature, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, then we get to know what is the material nature, what is the materialistic desire, what is the kama stage sarita jnana, what is the spirituality. All these things we learn in spirituality. With that knowledge only, right? With that knowledge only, we get Krishna. But we need two qualities, just like Dhruva Maharaja, inquisitive. What is that other thing? Determination. Inquisitive and determination. We determine too. This human form of life is very rare. Bahunam janmanamante. But we have to determine. We have to follow that quality. We have to develop that quality of determination. Unless we have the determined to understand Krishna and his teachings, follow in them, there is no solution behind this. Right? Yeah, we are done with this chapter and let us pick it up another new book on Monday. Okay. Thank you so much for joining Prabhuji's and Mataji's. Again, Dandavat Pranams. Anybody have any questions, or otherwise we can wrap up? Actually, 8 o'clock I have a call, office call. You tell me. It's okay. Thank you so much for joining for today. Vendala Mataji, Samit Tamagai, Shirish, Lakshmi Mataji. You are clear, right? By reading,
Yes,
by
Prabhu.
reading the Prabhupada books, we get that knowledge. Simple. How do we get that knowledge? He is a great Vaishnava Acharya. He is writing slow, so nicely to understand these spiritual concepts. And he is a properly situated in Guru Sishya Parampara. He has Guru. He has his Guru has his Guru. His Guru has his Guru. Like that, ultimately Krishna. Krishna Vande Jagat Guru. Krishna appeared in the form of spiritual master. You all with me, na? Krishna appeared through spiritual masters.
Yes,
When
Prabhu.
we come to the platform of devotional service, we understand, you know, think about it. How we come to the platform of devotional service. Krishna is there in every aspect of this. We are practicing Krishna Bhakti since some years. Everywhere Krishna is there. Krishna's intervention is there. Either through sending his spiritual master. Somehow we got connected. That somehow is there are pure devotees who prayed for us. Remember that point. And we have to utilize this opportunity. Never lost. Otherwise, we've become lost in the spiritual in the material pool. We become lost unless we use it for right purpose. Unless we use it for right purpose, there is no question of going back to it. We have to use it. We have the opportunity. Okay. So thank you so much again. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo ananta koti vaishnava vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Nitai Gaur Hari Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Okay. See you all on Monday. Have a happy Krishna conscious week. Chant చేయండి టైం దొరికినప్పుడల్లా నో చాంట్ మోర్ హరే కృష్ణ
Krishna Prabhu. Dandavad.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.